Okay, so today we are taking up chapter number 4 in a university grammar of English. This chapter deals with nouns and noun phrases. Uh, in this chapter, there is a discussion on the category of nouns and noun phrases. Nouns are classified into different types, and there is also some discussion about their reference, either specific or generic, and their usage. So, as I have said, I will be dividing the lecture into two parts. Today, we will deal with the subclasses of nouns, and we will also learn a few things about specific and generic reference in the case of various subclasses. And in the second chapter, we will complete the discussion by looking at the remaining aspects of this topic. So, as we all know, in the last lecture, we had a discussion on verb and verb phrases. Okay? So, generally, in this chapter, number one, nouns are classified, okay, into different types. In traditional grammars, normally, okay, we have such classifications as common noun, proper noun, abstract noun, collective nouns, etc. This book approaches this subject a little differently, and the classifications, when you read the chapter, you will realize are slightly different because in this we have such classifications of nouns as count nouns, non-count nouns, okay? And they are there is lesser reliance on earlier classifications of traditional grammar, such as proper noun, common noun, but uh, that does not mean that the earlier classifications are irrelevant. The book keeps referring to those also, but most of those are covered under the basic classification in this book of count, non-count, and those nouns which combine the characteristics of count and non-count nouns. Uh, First of all, as you can see in the first slide, nouns and noun function in four different ways. Yes. So please look at the first slide carefully. Nouns basically have four functions, or they can function in four different ways. They perform four functions, to be precise: the function of subject, function of object, function of complement, and the function of complement or object in a prepositional phrase. Okay, so we can use nouns as subjects, which is the most common use. Okay. For instance, we can say that telescopes, okay, are very useful in looking at distant objects. So here, telescope is obviously it is a noun and it is being used as a subject. If you say, I bought a telescope, okay, here telescope is not a subject, but it is an object. Okay. If you make a sentence like, this is a telescope, now here telescope is the uh, complement. And lastly, if we make a sentence such as he is gazing at the stars through a telescope. So here it is the object of a preposition. So we can use nouns, or nouns perform four functions: that of a subject, object, complement, or object of a preposition or prepositional phrase. Now, this book uh, classifies noun in three ways. There are three subclasses. Okay? The general classification in the beginning of the chapter is between proper nouns and common nouns. Okay? Proper nouns, we all know, are names of people, places, okay, which refer to people and places. Okay? And common nouns are general objects, things. Okay? So this is the basic classification. But the book subclassifies nouns into count nouns, non-count nouns, and nouns that combine the characteristics of count nouns and non-count nouns. So there are count nouns. Traditional grammars use the term countable nouns. In this grammar, the term count nouns is used. So as the name suggests, countable nouns or count nouns are those nouns, okay, which can occur both in singular and in plural forms. Okay? They have singular and plural forms. Okay? They can be counted. The second category is non-count nouns, and as the name suggests, in this category, okay, we include those nouns, okay, which do not have singular and plural forms, okay, uh, and cannot be counted in terms of 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the basic classification in nouns, along which we have to form an understanding of the different types of nouns. Okay? Whether they are treated as countable, okay? For instance, pen, book, glass, fan. Okay? These are all examples of countable nouns. On the other hand, we have a long list of those nouns which are which are not countable. For instance, sky, ground. Okay? These are nouns or furniture. These nouns are generally not used in a countable way. By which I mean that we cannot say one furniture, one sky, three skies, or two grounds. So these are generally used in a non-count manner. But after giving this classification, the book makes it very clear to us that the demarcation between count nouns and non-count nouns is not absolute. By which I mean that there are many nouns. It is more a question of usage. Okay? There are many nouns, okay, which uh, can be included both in count and uncount categories. So the two terms are overlapping terms. They are overlapping. Okay. There are many nouns, let me repeat, which basically can be used as count nouns at one time and as uncount nouns at another time. So as the slide shows, makes it clear, the basic classification given in this book is between proper nouns and common nouns, and uh, the nouns are then further subclassified into count nouns, non-count nouns, nouns that combine the characteristics of count nouns and non-count nouns. Is this clear to you? Shall I move ahead? Please, one of you, please unmute yourself and tell me, is this part of my lecture clear?
Yes, sir.
Now let us look at the third slide. The third slide is the slide of examples. Okay, there are 4 columns in this slide, where, as you can see, okay, we have provided lists of various various types of or subclasses of nouns. The first column is proper noun, second is count noun, third is uncount, and fourth is the example of a noun which can be both count and non-count. So, if you look at the slide closely, you can see that if we focus on the use of these nouns with articles, okay, and with determiners, okay, there is quite a visible difference. If we take the case of John, okay, John is a proper noun, okay, and it cannot be used with uh, any of the articles, okay, determiners. We cannot say the John, a John, some John, or use it in the plural sense, Johns. Okay. Then a noun like bottle, which is a countable noun, okay, we can use it as a countable or count noun. It can be counted. It has both singular and plural forms. In the case of such nouns, as the slide shows you, okay, we have liberty to use, okay, uh, it with general determiners like the bottle, a bottle. Okay. The noun also occurs in singular and plural forms, bottle and bottles. But when it occurs in the singular, there are some restrictions of the use related to the use of determiners. For instance, we obviously cannot say some bottle, but we can say some bottles. Otherwise, for different uses at different places, okay, for different reasons, we can use such nouns both with a, with the, and with some also. The third example is of furniture. Furniture, as I said, as I indicated a while ago, is a non-count noun. And in such nouns, the first thing to note is that we cannot have a plural. Okay, so furnitures is wrong. Okay. And we also cannot have the article a. Okay. So a furniture is also wrong, okay, because these nouns are used as non-count, not counted. A long list of non-count nouns. Okay, there is a long list provided in the book also. Lots of examples of non-count nouns are given in the book. Okay, these nouns are characterized by the quality that these nouns cannot be or not treated as countable. Okay. So because of this, we cannot use them with a. Okay. We cannot use them in the plural form. And lastly, we have those nouns, okay, which at different times can be treated both as count and as uncount. Now let us move on to the next slide, where there is an example of 2 words, experience and paper. Now these such nouns, it is just an example, and you have lots of nouns which can be similarly used as count and non-count nouns. Okay? But I have taken just 2 examples from the book. Experience. Okay? So as you can see, I had many odd and strange experiences. Okay? So experience word, the term experience, or the noun experience at certain times can be used as a count noun, and we can have plural, okay, of this. as the sentence shows you, I had many odd and strange experiences. And it can also be used to to indicate a non-count use. Okay. Gaurav, you want to say something? Please be quick. If you want to say something, please be quick. Otherwise, unmute yourself. Your mic is on. Let's go on to the next sentence. I always like morning tea with paper. Okay. So here, paper refers to the newspaper. Okay. And newspaper, in one of it, the use of this noun is treated as a non-count. But we can also use both newspaper and paper, okay, in a countable sense, okay, to indicate that we are not referring to the newspaper, okay, as a kind of a social uh, phenomena, okay, but as one unit. So when we are using it in the sense of one unit, okay, we can use these nouns as count nouns. Okay, so I always like morning tea with paper. Wrap the gift in a small piece of paper. So there are both the uses of countable and uncountable meaning here. Let's go on to the next slide. Co-occurrence of determiners with uh, with noun classes. Now, in these 2-3 slides, I have tried to follow the book and uh, organize, okay, the different nouns in relation to their use with determiners. So, which determiners can be used, okay, with which uh, countable, with which noun. So in the first slide, co-occurrence, we have co-occurrence of determiners with noun classes. Here we are looking at count noun singular. Count, we have just been referring to count nouns and non-count nouns, but let us not forget that as far as count nouns are concerned, okay, we can have count nouns in singular form and we can have count nouns in plural form. Okay, so uh, as far as singular count nouns are concerned, okay, the count nouns when they are singular, okay, can come with the or co-occur with the following determiners. Okay, they can co-occur with the, my, any, okay, this, that, a, and, every, each, either. So the following determiners can be used with singular countable nouns. Coming to the next slide, okay, count nouns plural. Plural count nouns, obviously, okay, because they are plural with s or es, cannot be used with all the determiners. So we cannot use them with a. Okay, we cannot say a glasses, okay, a books. We cannot say an, okay. We cannot say uh, an with. We cannot use an with plural countable nouns. Okay. We cannot say an umbrellas. So plural count nouns can be used with the determiners you can see in this slide. Okay. They can be used with the. Okay. We can say the books, the windows, my, his, her. By my does not refer to only one possessive. Okay. It means that any of the possessive pronouns can be used with. possessive adjectives can be used with plural countable nouns. Can some, any, no, and plural countable nouns, as we will discuss later on, can also be used with zero article. That means without a and the on their own. This use we will discuss later on when we come to specific and generic reference. Okay. Under specific, the second part of my lecture will deal with specific and generic reference. Okay. When is the reference specific to a specific unit of a class, and when is the reference to the whole class? This will be discussed under that. So zero article and those. And then when we come to non-count nouns, the nouns which are not treated as countable, okay, we can have the, my. By my, again, we mean any one of the possessive adjectives, some, any, no. They can also, just like plural countable nouns, they can also be used without an article, zero article. This, that, and much. Okay. I hope this part is clear to you. Okay. Before I come to specific and generic reference, one of you please unmute yourself and tell me, is this much clear? Can we proceed and look at the next slide?
Yes, sir. Please continue.
Specific and generic. So this is a very, very important issue when we deal with nouns. Very important. What do we mean by specific and generic? There are two kinds of references when we are dealing with nouns. Okay? And this is a very, very vital issue in deciding how the noun will be used and what kind of determiners will be used with the. So specific, as I said, specific reference is that reference where we are referring to one unit of the whole class, right? And generic reference is a reference where we are referring to the entire class. Okay, so the next few slides will deal with these two references, how these references are made. So if we look at this slide, okay, which is being displayed before you, in the specific reference, we have a lion and two tigers are sleeping. So here it is very clear that this reference is specific. Okay? Specific. A lion and two tigers are sleeping in the cage. So the sentence makes it clear that this countable noun, lion and tiger, two countable nouns, are being used for specific reference. They are being used in relation to two members of the whole class. In the next sentence, we have tigers are dangerous animals. Now here, the reference is generic. Okay, here the reference is generic. So let me make one thing very clear right at the beginning, that countable nouns, count nouns, non-count nouns, and their subclasses, singular, plural, okay, they can be used either for specific reference or for generic reference. Okay? They can be used for both references. So generic reference, as far as generic reference, now there is a sometimes confusion in the minds of students. How do we make generic reference? Do we use a when we are referring to the whole class? Do we use the, or do we use plural? So the answer is that all three are right. A generic reference can be made in three ways in count nouns. When we are using count nouns to make a generic reference, okay, all three ways are okay, correct. So a tiger is a dangerous animal. The tiger is a dangerous animal. Tigers are dangerous animals. They are all can be used to make generic reference. So generic reference with non-count nouns is possible in only one way, uh, without any determiner, plural form. Okay, but when we come to non-count nouns, there generic reference cannot be made with a, an, or the, there, or with plural. The generic reference in the case of non-count nouns can be made only in one way, that is using the non-count noun as it is. So music provides comfort to all. So non-count nouns, because they do not have a plural form, okay, we have already discussed it. Okay, they make generic reference, okay, without a, the, and, okay, or without any plural form. Music provides comfort to all. Okay. Education is important for our society. Okay, so here these references are generic references. Okay, you're not referring to specific unit, part, okay, of a noun. Okay. So now we come to specific reference. The earlier slide was about generic reference. This is about specific reference. So specific reference can be made in two ways. Okay. Definite specific reference and indefinite specific reference. So let us understand this. The tiger is sick. The tigers have been brought from Africa. The water in the bucket is cold. Okay. Uh, Indefinite specific reference, a tiger entered so the residential area last night. Some tigers don't hurt if not hungry, hunt, some water got wasted. So as the slide tries to make it clear to you, specific reference is a reference to something, okay, which a definite specific reference with the article the is the reference to something which can be identified by the speaker and the listener. So it is not a general reference. So for instance, if I tell a member of my family to please switch on the fan, okay, there it is clear that we are sharing a common situation, and the fan I am referring to is the fan in that particular room where we are talking. But on the other hand, if I say, let us buy a new fan, okay, that is specific reference of an indefinite and any fan. So indefinite in a very loose sense refers to one, anyone. So you can see the tiger is sick. The tigers have been brought from Africa. The water in the bucket is cold. Here, okay, we are referring to, we are making a definite specific reference where the speaker and the listener can identify the tiger. We are not referring to any tiger. We are referring to the tigers which have been brought from Africa. The tiger is sick. We are referring to a sick tiger, okay, among all the tigers. Indefinite specific reference is a reference in a very general and loose sense. Okay, as I said, basically linked with the sense of one. A tiger entered, an unknown tiger, okay, some tiger entered the residential area. So this is specific reference, which as we have tried to learn is definite specific reference and indefinite specific reference. Now let's look at the next, definite and specific. The definite specific reference on definite article the is used for singular count, plural count, and non-count nouns. For indefinite specific reference, indefinite article, a, an, or zero article, or some are used. So this we have already seen in the last. Okay. The definite article the is used with singular countable noun, plural countable noun, okay, and sometimes with non-count count nouns to make the reference specific. For indefinite specific reference, on the other hand, we use a and generally, and sometimes zero article also. I have time just for two more slides. The rest of the slides we'll cover in the next lecture. So sometimes we use adjectives as nouns. Now, this is a very, no, very specific use of adjectives. Adjectives normally are used before nouns, but in some cases, adjectives are used as nouns. When adjectives are used, what I want to tell you is that when adjectives are used as nouns, they have specific reference, not general reference. So look at these two sentences. The rich. The rich से हमारा मतलब है the rich people. Okay? The rich should participate in social welfare programs. Or the French love their language. By the French, we mean the French people. So when adjectives are used as nouns, the reference is specific. The reference is generic and not specific. Now, when non-count nouns are used for generic reference, okay, zero article is used. This I have already discussed. Most of the times we don't use the with non-count nouns. Wine tastes good, music soothes tired spirits, and compare this with he likes the wine of France. If there is post modification after wine of France makes it specific. So this is here we will use the, but when it is used without post modification, there will not be any article with it. So have a look at this slide. Specific reference is used for three reasons. These are the three reasons. I will not be having time to go into the detail, but let me just share the slides. I have just few seconds. We will discuss them in detail.